into the workplace, which you were saying that you are attempting, and what do you see as the obstacles which is not allowing this IR 4.0, right? Both from your perspective or the technology perspective.
First of all, when I listen to the other panelists, then the world becomes a scary place. On a manufacturing perspective, I think we are positioned well as a country to cater to more needs. So in that sense, we are always optimistic and positive. Your earlier question, you said manufacturing is not looked as a sector because of the sort of remuneration probably people get. I wanted to answer that as well.
Even if it moves into the digital manufacturing.
Right. But first, companies also need to change their strategy from a shareholder perspective or shareholder welfare perspective to a stakeholder welfare perspective. We need to do more for our employees so that they are getting more. So I think primarily a lot of companies, a lot of enterprises are still not looking at that model. So only when you change that model, change that narrative, will people be interested to come into the industry and we can do more for the employees. So that was the first point I really wanted to address. And it's a very important point that shareholders is not the only priority, but stakeholders, that is your employees, indirect, direct, your suppliers, all of it, right? The second point that you asked me was regarding automation, the difficulty in automating in a manufacturing sector. So yeah, so we've been a company that is always looking at innovative sort of tools to bring into the sort of industry. So always when we've brought in new technology, the initial barrier to implement it is always difficult because you need to convince labor to that it is going to be a more productive way sort of at getting output. But the first fear is always, is my job going to be lost? So it is always important to understand or to make them understand that they will be reskilled to do other jobs because we as a company are moving forward. So that is how the approach needs to be taken. So always companies are looking to scale up. So that's the strategy in which when we try to implement technology, newer technology, that we try to convince the labor force this is what's going to happen. So always that initial barrier is there, but the adoption or the change mindset happens over a period of time. Now, the problem is now to get a ready workforce to use that technology is not readily always available in the market. So that is where we need to partner with industries, partner with polytechnics, partner with universities to make sure the needs of the companies or the enterprises as well as the newer technologies that is coming into the market, that gap is being bridged by a skills program or something like that. So that is where we go to a lot of private institutions. We worked with IIM also in the past to do this sort of work. So in terms of that, technology adoption is, there is an initial barrier, but there is definitely acceptance within the workforce that India is a lesser productive sort of country. So in terms of that, workforce is slowly migrating to those sort of philosophies. So Industry 4.0, digitization, those sort of things are slowly coming into place whereby we are able to improve the productivity. But it is still, a slow process. So in terms of the panelists, they're always talking about AI. The finance guys never like the manufacturing sector because it's a very
25% is still in manufacturing at least.
Yeah.
Data shows, and it is shrinking, but that is what
it is shrinking. That's what the earliest statistic also that I said.
Yeah, so a lot of data is also available now to see that whether the number of companies are shrinking or the number of companies employing, more than 100 employees. That percentage. There's a lot of skewed.
There is a consolidation that is happening. So a lot of the smaller MSMEs are, getting. That is shrinking, and the larger companies are becoming larger, which is also sad. So the key to a a very robust sort of economy is having a very robust MSME sort of system, which is highly prevalent in China, but that is slowly decreasing in India. So that needs to be still move forward to kind of create an economy which sustains. There is a sort of ancillary units that come around the companies to make sure that goes on well.
Again, the small sectors which are working, whether like he said about the future of manufacturing. So the small sectors should we concentrate more on the service sector only, small sectors only, because this digital platforms or the technologies are helping in terms of the global network much easier. So future, maybe we might have a gravitation more towards this compared to China in that value chain. But I wanted to bring in this Kailash into this perspective when he said about patience and investing in the employees. But today's employees do not commit themselves, right? Commitment to an organization, and we are re-looking at what is this loyalty aspect. So how do you see that for the future of this? Because we always learned in terms of loyalty, sticking on with a single company, and today even loyalty is being questioned.